Pokémon Legends Arceus changed the Pokémon formula, reinventing something that for many had grown stale. By doing that, it instantly became one of the most universally loved Pokémon titles in years and is a big part of the reason why people are so excited for Pokémon Legends ZA. But it wasn't perfect, and while there are some things that Pokémon Legends ZA should take from it, there are some they should either not take or improve upon. So hey, I'm Not So Ace Trainer, and how can Pokémon Legends ZA improve from Pokémon Legends Arceus? Let's get into it. In this video, I'm assuming that the core gameplay from Pokémon Legends Arceus will be present in Pokémon Legends ZA. Having right Pokémon that we can use to move around, catching Pokémon without the need to enter a battle, and even an interesting battle system that is different from the regular one. All of these are likely to be present, as they should. They to me are the identity of what we now know is the Legends series. But one thing that the main games and the Legends series does as well is having a big final battle, and they should do it as well in Pokémon Legends ZA, but have it really be the final battle. I'm not thinking about the Arceus one in this case, despite that truly being the final boss of the first Legends game, and that is actually the bad part about it. I'm talking about the Volo battle atop Mount Coronet in the Spear Pillar, or the Temple of Sinnoh at the time. Every time you talk about Pokémon Legends Arceus with someone, that is 100% going to be something that will be talked about for as long as Pokémon is talked about. It wasn't just the difficulty, it was the element of surprise that made it feel so good. It truly was a final boss. Its only flaw, though, was not really being the final boss and not the final challenge of the plot of the game, though I understand why they left Arceus for last. Still, it really should have not been the case. Pokémon Legends ZA absolutely should have something like this, but they should have it be the true final battle, be it against Zygarde or a random evil trainer. Imagine battling against complete form Zygarde just to have it respawn as like a one-of-a-kind temporary form that just obliterates everything. It would break Pokemon internet once more. But since we're on the topic of battles, they should kinda make them not so repetitive. I might be on the minority here, but while I did overall like the action-based battles against the novel Pokemon, which I think we might have some different iteration of in ZA, I hated that what we needed to do was throw a lot of bombs over and over. It felt awkward and very un-Pokemon-like. While I do understand that it was a way to showcase the throwing mechanic, we don't need it to be so prevalent in the battles now that it isn't new, and I hope that using our Pokemon becomes a more important part of them. And on the topic of throwing, that leads me to catching. And catching is great. Catching in this game is absolutely fantastic. And usually, catching is all you need to complete the Pokedex and get your shiny charm. But not in Pokémon Legends Arceus. In Pokémon Legends Arceus, you need to do extra work for every single one of the Pokémon in order to get that. And while I do understand why, first Pokedex and all that, I really didn't like it. It felt so much like an unnecessary grind, especially the ones where you had to use an agile, strong or specific move for X amount of times. Or having to see wild Pokemon use a move a whole bunch of times as well. Why do I need to do it so often? From a gameplay perspective, it wasn't particularly fun. A nice thing to have as it makes the whole I'm part of the Servicorps plot more immersive, sure, but one that was made in a way that turned them into a chore to go through. I hope they keep them, but redo them in a more reasonable way. The next one is a simple one, I think. After Pokémon Scarlet and Violet showed us what an open-world Pokémon game can be, I really hope that the same is applied to Pokémon Legends ZA. Pokémon Legends Arceus had a segmented open world which worked awesomely, but there was a big problem. You had to constantly go back to your base, and that meant a lot of loading screens, and I think that should be changed. With the game happening completely inside the city of Lumiose, I assume that we'll have different biomes within it, kinda like we had in the terrarium in the Indigo Disc. I don't expect them to be as noticeable, of course, no huge icy mountains within the walls of the Colosseum City and all that, but I do expect them to exist. And I would love to be able to traverse through them without the need to return to our base of operations. Scarlet and Violet truly is the best example of this. Besides entering buildings, the only loading screens we faced were the ones to enter Mesagoza, which could be considered our base of operations, and a whiteout as we enter Area 0. The rest of the region was completely open for us to explore, and that made the experience that much more enjoyable. And on that open world Lumiose City, I hope we get a lot of lore that we can add to the pile of solved and unsolved Colossian mysteries. But lore, that needs cutscenes, and cutscenes are very likely to be silent, and yeah, you guessed it, we're talking about voice acting. I know a lot of people disagree with it, but to me this becomes more apparent with each passing Pokemon game. Playing through Pokemon Ultra Sun recently on stream showed me how cutscene heavy that game was and how having voice acting would make it a lot more enjoyable to get through. And while that's an extreme example, we saw how Pokémon Legends Arceus and Pokémon Scarlet and Violet are getting more and more expressive with their cutscenes, especially Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. It's crazy to look at Drayton mocking Kieran in silence, or seeing Professor Briar in complete awe of the Rapagos power without a single sound. The banter between Adaman and Irida could have been so much better were we able to actually hear the emotion in their words. At this point, and with how cutscene heavy Pokemon is, we need something more. Also, just as an extra one for the cutscenes, stop with the fading to black, just animate whatever you're trying to hide. Even if it's not perfect, it is 100% going to be better than just fading out. And that is what I have for you today, 5 things that Pokémon Legends Z2A needs to do to be better than Pokémon Legends Arceus. But what about you? What do you expect this game to do? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content, and also ring the bell so you know when the next video is out. Also, you can become a channel member or check out my merch in order to further support the channel. I'd be forever thankful for that. You can follow me on social media or check out one of my streams here and on Twitch. All the links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.